What's going on, Bucs fans? Back here again at the Pirate Parlay podcast. I told you we're going 3 days a week from now up until the draft with tons of guests. We got a very special one in today. Nobody breaks down the tape, grinds the tape, and puts it in a format that you can understand better than my next guest. He's gone over a bunch of the first-round draft picks. You can check them all out at his page, and I'll let him tell you all about that when we get him on. But tons of good information. We're going to be going around who are the Bucs' likely first-round picks. It seems kind of, if you're in Bucs, involved in Bucs media and Twitter and all that stuff, and you consume all that, then you got to get an understanding about why. Why are those guys the picks? And we'll go through that and what our guests saw on the tape that thinks that they're going to fit in with Todd Bowles, this defense, this offense, and this Bucs team. So we'll get into all that and more after the break.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
Back here on the other side, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. As always, if you're on X or on YouTube, appreciate you guys. If you're on X, come on to YouTube, drop a like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get notified every time we go live here, which is usually Wednesdays at 7. But again, because it's draft month, we're going all the way with 3 pods a week to really get you guys familiarized with these prospects, doing mock drafts. It's going to be a blast. Super excited to continue to do this. Again, I'm JC Allen, your host here on the Pirate Parlay podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. And all my people who are listening to this later on any of the streaming platforms as an audio version, appreciate you as always. Come catch us live sometime. Go to that YouTube, notifications on, and you'll be able to catch us live. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Again, we're going to go over some of these top draft options for the Bucs here at 19, or potentially a trade back scenario. And we're going to do that none other than, again, this guy, whether it's in season, whether it's draft season, where he really thrives, whether it's new Buccaneers free agent pickups or signings. Him and his co-host Mark do a phenomenal job at breaking down, again, so you guys can understand kind of, what the Bucs are seeing, what the players are seeing, and makes it really digestible for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it out to my guest, Michael Pless from Real Bucs Talk. Mike, how we doing?
Doing good, JC. It's good to be back on here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have you as always. And we're in full gear, man. The draft is less than 3 weeks away. It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I was saying before the pod, we're just burning the midnight oil as we continue to get, grind through the tape and try to get as, many prospects as we can. But yeah, it's just really exciting times. We're only 17 days away, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm right there with you. Wednesday starts my player prospect preview that I try to put out every year. And yeah, it's daunting because it's all got to be done in one day because the next one comes out the next day. So it's a lot. So luckily I have my base notes and stuff that I'm going to put in, but there's a lot of positions this year where even in like round 7, maybe round 7, maybe if they get a 6th round pick, but like a quarterback, like I don't see the Bucs being attached to really anybody. They did have non-formal interviews with Brady Cook and Dylan Gabriel, but really, I don't think the need is there. They really like Pratt. They really like Trask. I don't see them burning a draft pick on there. Running back's one of those things, too. Maybe in the 7th round, they could go for a running back. But other than those 2 positions, it will be fun to kind of get into some of these other draft positions and kind of familiarize myself with some of the later round prospects. But, yeah, it's like they're not going to take those positions. So expect short previews for wide receiver and running back, which helps me because it kicks off my thing. But you've been going nonstop. Tell the people what you've been up to because another one dropped today. You had one drop yesterday. Just tell them what you got going on over at Real Bucs Talk over on the YouTube there and on the good old X page.
Yeah, we're just trying to push out more prospects as we get moving closer. So we're got about 5 to 6 prospects coming over the next couple of weeks. So we're trying to get it over at least 30 prospects. Most of them are going to be, the top 50, we expect. So, not a lot of like sleepers or anything of that nature, but we're just trying to get like, the top names out there, guys that we think could be potential targets for the Bucs. Other good players. That's what we're trying to do. So I think tomorrow we have Xavier Watts. So be on the lookout for that. And then we have Jalon Walker on Wednesday. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, might be a name we bring up today. But I love Xavier Watts, man. The way he plays the game, it's going to be interesting to see where he fits. I think he would be a good fit with the Bucs.
He would.
I do. Because I think some of his shortcomings Todd can kind of cover up. And they're really not that big of shortcomings either, but that's why it's a second round prospect, not a first round. He's not a fully clean, but it's funny because when you started this, I think one of the first prospects, and this is just goes crazy how things change and how much information we get and we learn and as we go. And even now, like you see Jalen Milrose, like stock is rising right now, but it's always been that high. We're just finally catching up to teams' draft boards and things that are leaked. But one of the first ones you did was Mike Green. And, I've been on the record saying I know a lot of other Bucs media members, and Jay asked in the comments here too, do you think the Bucs would consider James Pierce Jr. and Mike Green, James Pierce Jr.? I don't think they're going to be on the Bucs boards for various reasons. Another guy who I like, and maybe to a lesser extent, but Walter Nolan might be a guy who's not on their board for some character concerns. If they're going to go receiver, the Ohio State receiver. I still haven't learned everyone's names yet. I'm waiting for Brugler's pronunciation guide so I can get everyone's name. But I mean, it just shows how the process changes. Like Mike Green was a name that Bucs fans zeroed in on early, and now he's probably likely not on their draft board because of some character concerns. But we will jump into some of these prospects that could be on their draft board. And since we're talking about edge rushers, let's stick to the theme. Donovan Ezeiruaku, got that one from Boston College. Absolute animal. I think he fits what the Bucs look for as far as character wise, as far as playmaking wise. Ball hawk is a term that Todd Bowles used a couple times, but he doesn't have necessarily the height and size that they usually look for. It's kind of similar to what a Shaq Barrett was, 6'2", 247. So it's going to be interesting to see if they err away from, usually they're pretty spot on with their measurables. They look for certain traits and certain athletic abilities and certain features as far as makeup, and they tend not to diversify from it too much. So, but I think Ezeiruaku, as John V puts out, long arms, freakishly long arms for his size. I think he's one that they might make an exception for. Tell me why you feel the same way. What stood out to you about Ezeiruaku, and why could he be the Bucs' choice at 19?
Yeah, I think you look at the production, first, obviously, coming off a, 16 sack season, he has production. He has the ability to get in the backfield. I think his run defense is serviceable. I think it's good enough. And you look at just he's got the, everything in the toolbox as far as, pass rush moves, pass rush arsenal. I think he's a good understanding of the game and knows how to get after the quarterback, knows how to beat offensive linemen. His story about, going into the film room with the offensive line coach and like looking at, his opponents and just seeing what can he do to get better. So you have that, obviously you have the on-field stuff that looks really good on tape, but then you factor in the off the field stuff where it's just super clean. And he's a guy that you want. I think he was, I believe he was one of the captains, or if not, he was a leader for Boston College. So, all that makes sense for the Buccaneers. He just seems like a natural fit for them.
Yeah, there's some, obviously there's some knocks on him too. I think when you look at this draft, there's probably 12, maybe 15 real first round grades on some of these guys. And it kind of gets convoluted from, I would say, around 15, the latest rather, to probably, I would even say early third round. There's still some players who I feel like are all in that same category, same mix.
Right.
And Ezeiruaku's he's up fringe there, I think, as far as a first round grade, early second round grade. But for the things that he struggles with, it's He's obviously got that smaller frame, so he can get engulfed sometimes by bigger
Right.
blockers and pullers. He's a dog. He fights, but he's not gonna overwhelm anybody with a speed to power rush or anything like that. So there are some knocks on him, but I do think that Ezeiruaku would fit in really nice with this team. And for someone his kind of makeup to learn behind someone like Hassan Reddick, who could only be here for a year, I think would be really valuable for him as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, and like you said, he's more of a technician. He's not, super athletic. Even though his testing, some of the numbers are really good. And when you watch him on film, that is something that he does need to work on as far as like speed of power, like you talked about. I think he wants to get a little bit more power to his game, but learning from Hassan Reddick, I think that would be a huge benefit for him. And you just add more depth to that group, and that's something that the Buccaneers need, because let's say someone gets hurt, like if Yaya or Hassan Reddick goes down, then you're pretty much back where where you were.
Right. And you're hoping Chris Braswell can take that leap, and they're really they have high hopes for Braswell to take that second year jump, and certainly high hopes for Yaya Diaby to take that third year leap. And I think having Reddick on the opposite side is going to help him take some of those double teams and chips away from him. Another guy who's pretty good at rushing the passer, but also is someone who is really impressive with the way he can be used versatile with his versatility, is a guy, Jihaad Campbell. And he's someone who's gained a ton of steam for the Bucs, especially in recent weeks at 19. There are some big questions with Jihaad Campbell. First of all, what's his best position? Some people see him better as a kind of tweener edge rusher, off-ball linebacker. Some like him better at edge. Some people just prefer him as an off-ball role. If he comes to the Bucs, he's going to be all over the place. But the biggest question mark around him is availability. And as a rookie, availability is your best ability. And he just had surgery on a torn labrum, which sidelines him for probably about 6 to 8 months, typically with those surgeries, which will definitely put him in risk of missing all of rookie minicamp, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, and probably the start of training camp, if not the start of the regular season. Does that give you pause for him, or the things he does on the field, does that warrant, you think, the high selection? I mean, if we're going based off talent, if he was injury, I know a lot of people have him as a potential top 10 prospect in the draft this year, just with the way he plays. What's your thoughts on Jihaad Campbell? Are you still in on him, even though his rookie year could be potentially a wash? Talk to me about Jihaad. What did you see on film that gets you excited for him?
Yeah, I think, with the injury, obviously that's concerning. You want to, make sure the medicals do check out. Like, is he on pace to, recover and all that things? Like, it's not going to be a long-term issue. If it's not, then, obviously I would feel comfortable taking him at 19. I think when you look at him, he is probably one of the best prospects in this class. He's at least a top 15 prospect, in my opinion. The way he can move and his size and his ability to do multiple things on the field, his pass coverage is already at a very good level. And I think it can continue to get better as he grows into that position. Because people forget, like, he was an edge rusher first. Like, this is the position he was recruited as. And he moved to off-ball linebacker because Alabama they have so many players.
Yeah.
So I think Campbell he's got it all. I mean, the ability to run sideline to sideline. I think his instincts are good. I think they can be better when in terms of coming downhill. There's some pauses there. You would like to see him be a little bit stronger, taking on blocks, but for the most part, he is really good. Like, when he sees ball, he just gets it, and the guy can make plays. Like, I think that's important. And then you offer up the fact of his ability to be a factor on third down as far as a rusher. That makes a lot of sense if you are the Buccaneers looking for that kind of chess piece that they always talk about. It makes a lot of sense. But not only that, you need somebody for the future at that position at linebacker, because, Levante, I would love for him to play forever, but he's going to retire eventually, and you got to have somebody at the linebacker spot, because I know they're talking up Servassier Dennis, but again, he hasn't been available either. So it's like, what do you do there? You got to add somebody. I think
Right.
if you can add Jihaad Campbell, the best linebacker in this class, I think it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint.
Yeah, again, and I think there is that stigmatism around drafting linebackers in the first round. I think the last couple we've seen have not panned out. Jamin Davis was one. The Bucs actually made a trade with the Jaguars. The Logan Hall draft, they took Devin Lloyd out of Utah, if I remember correctly. And there's been several others who just haven't panned out. Devin White is one of them that haven't panned out. But I think, if he was healthy and you mentioned too, the lack of anticipation and maybe some instincts, but again, he's only been playing that position for about 2 seasons. So that, that can tend to develop late. And, even with most linebackers, I mean, you look at some of these guys who have been drafted, it takes them a second. Fred Warner didn't come out on the scene as a 3rd round pick. It's Fred Warner. Levante David, 2nd round, he started off pretty hot, but it's not always like that. Sometimes it takes about a year or 2 for these guys to really get comfortable, because what they're doing at the collegiate level and what they're doing in the NFL, especially the size of the players that they're taking on, is completely different. Yeah. And it takes some time, especially I feel like linebacker and tight end, I feel like are the 2 positions that take a year or 2 really, unless you're really special, to kind of figure it out. And then once you do, look, Cade Otton's a perfect example. That first year he came in, split some reps with Cam Brate. 2nd year, he improved a little bit, had that offseason to get bigger and stronger. And then now his 3rd season, you saw what he did. He really kind of showed out as a blocker, came on really strong. That was one of the biggest question marks. So sometimes it takes a little while. With Jihaad Campbell, I don't think it's going to take a little while, other than the fact that he's coming back from injury. But if he wasn't, I think he'd be a top 15 pick easy. If he's there at 19, I think the Bucs definitely have to look into that. But there's things about his game where he can get better too. And I think a year learning under Levante David would certainly benefit if Levante does choose to walk away, or Servassier Dennis, doesn't look right in, the second half of the season. Campbell's healthy, maybe he takes over. But definitely a big fan of his. I think the Bucs are too. I think if he's there at 19, it'd be pretty hard for them to pass up, even with some of these other guys we're going to talk about. And while we're on off-ball linebacker / edge player, what are you? And I think Jalon Walker, to me, out of Georgia, is someone who the Bucs was mocked to the Bucs a lot before his. I hate to say stock rising. I like to say till we caught up. Because that's just kind of what it is. But again, a lot of people look at him as off ball. He played it off ball. He's got a lot of people look at him as edge. He's 6'2", 245. So, similar range as Ezeiruaku as far as undersized for an edge rusher. But the things he can do is just really, he's just really gifted as an athlete, in his physicality, his anticipation, his pass rush plan. Where do you see Jalon Walker? Where do you see him specifically in this offense? Is he more that edge rusher, or can he be a full-time 3-4 off-ball linebacker?
Yeah, I see him as an edge. When I watch the tape, I just see like he's just so natural there. I think he understands that position at a good, he has a good foundation for it, a good base to work off from. When you look at him at linebacker, I think it was more of just using him in a simple capacity. Like, you want to, keep him downhill. I think attacking downhill is obviously his strength. He didn't really have many coverage reps. I think we put maybe 2 or 3 coverage reps in our film study that's coming out Wednesday. So it's I just see the way his ability to attack the tackles at the edge position is just so cool. Again, he's not the biggest guy. He has 32-inch arms, but he attacks with power, and he's got, good bend ability, a good athleticism. When you use him just as a quarterback spy as a linebacker, obviously you see the ability. So I think he's going to have to go to a team that understands what he's good at, and I think that's what Georgia did really well. Now, for that being said, we don't know, if he can't do those things because they just didn't ask him to do it, and
athletically he looks like he could.
Yeah, like athletically, he could be a linebacker. He just needs more time at that position to develop those skills. Right now, I think, you put him at edge and you find ways to just keep him attacking. So you got to find the right defense coordinator to pair him up with, and see, what can happen there. But yeah, he's got, plenty of upside, and the intangibles are off the charts. So you don't have to worry about him from that standpoint. His dad is a coach. So he's a coach's son, and he has all the makeup that you're looking for as far as a prospect.
Yeah, and the thing about Jalon Walker is the same thing about Jihaad Campbell. Just not enough time there. So those instincts, those natural instincts that you feel as a linebacker, and that anticipation, that I've seen this, I know what's going on. Those reps that he doesn't have is part of the reason why off-ball linebacker is such a projection for him, because we've seen what he can do as an edge rusher in the SEC, no less, and against really good competition, players who are going to be in the NFL on Sunday,
Right.
So
yeah,
it's a little bit easier to broadcast that path at edge rusher than it is off ball, which is more of a projection. Can he handle the coverage assignments? Can he quickly figure out by dissecting tape and watching enough tape that this look means I need to be over here or over there? And, he's a guy who's dedicated to do it. As you mentioned, if you're the son of a coach, like, that stuff's great, whether you want to or not. Like, it just becomes part of your routine as you get older. Do you have those big question marks though? Like, are you sold on him if the Bucs select him as being potentially the heir apparent to Lavonte David, or do you think he's more of just I'll use Todd Bowles' word, chess piece for him to move around the defense, cause havoc, cause confusion? And is that worth a first-round pick? Is someone who can be part of that wave, as Jason said, of people coming in and keeping guys fresh and pass rushing, getting after the quarterback, utilizing the front four? Can he be part of that, or is that too rich for a guy who's such a big projection at a position I would think of as a need at linebacker?
Yeah, I think it would be tough to draft him at 19 as a linebacker. Now, if they are committed to putting him as an edge, I could definitely see it. Like, I can see the upside there more so than at linebacker.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, I think that's where his versatility comes into play, because he can do pretty much everything that they wanted from JTS. It's just Jalon Walker provides more upside because he has that power game. He has that ability to win in different ways than JTS showed. So I think that would have to be the plan. At least for me, I would feel comfortable taking him if that was their, ideas behind it. Jihaad Campbell is a better linebacker. So if they want Jihaad Campbell, I get it, because he can play linebacker today. So that's where I kind of put those two. Jihaad would be a higher rating for me if you want a true linebacker.
Yeah, and either way, just like I'm getting a PhD on these draft prospects, they're going to get one from Lavonte David.
Yeah.
So whoever drafted in that position to have the ability to sit under him for a year and just pick his brain and diagnose. And Servase Dennis too. So Servase is very smart linebacker, like very smart. Go on his Instagram today. He's sitting out on his porch, relaxing, watching film. Like, he's a dog. He's a junkie, So if you guys have any questions or thoughts, whatever, drop them in the comments. We'll get to them for sure. We're going to go through, I think we have about 4 or 5 more prospects, potential first rounders that maybe could trade back. Maybe they could stick at that spot and take it. And then we're going to jump into a quick mock draft. It's a shorter show today, but appreciate y'all as always. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you haven't already. But we've been talking about two guys really, who's kind of positions. Jihaad's he's more of a linebacker, but Jalon Walker's more of a question mark, right? Yeah. Coin flip. You got him at edge, or you got him. He's a linebacker. But another guy who is all over the place is Malaki Starks, the safety out of Georgia. We're hearing, nickel. Could he play nickel? Could he play free safety? Could he play strong safety? I've said it on my show with John. I've heard that, Tampa Bay thinks he could maybe play some outside. And that's something that John was thinking before he even heard me say it. He's like, I was talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Malaki Starks, he's an intriguing piece. Obviously played with Tyke Smith. He can play all over the field. He's definitely got strengths at other positions than he does, but I think he'd be a solid selection. I think, again, another chess piece for Todd Bowles to use on that back end. If you have a back end of Starks, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Tyke, it's really pretty interchangeable, especially if Starks can kind of pick up in some of the spots where he may not be as polished. Really, you can just say, all right, based on this, that, and really cause chaos and confusion on that back end. But what are your thoughts on Malaki Starks? Where do you see his best position, and what are some of those maybe knocks on him that are either justified or things that maybe he can improve? You think he can improve on at the next level?
Yeah, I think Starks he was a very good player for Georgia. He played a lot of positions, safety. I see him as like a safety hybrid, so he can. His best position is probably free safety, in my opinion, because I like with his ability to play that back half and, top of the field and kind of be used in a rover type of situation where he can go out and make plays on the ball. And that's his best strength. His ball skills are really good. And I think they used him in Tyke's spot this past season, basically put him in that nickel role kind of towards the box, moved him around a little bit. And he was good. Like his man coverage skills are top notch. Like he knows how to be sticky in coverage. Zone coverage, I think there's some work to be done, but where his vision on the quarterback and his ability to go and make a play, I think is there. His understanding of the game is really good. Intangibles are off the charts. So he's going to be a very good leader for your defense.
Right.
But for the Bucs, I think putting him at nickel or putting him at free safety, I think allows them to move Antoine Winfield around. And I think Antoine is really the chess piece that they want to play, have in their pocket where they can move him as a blitzer. They can put him, up in the box. They can use him in the nickel. They can do a lot of different things. Tyke, I love to see him at strong safety. I think that would be cool. And, his ability to come down and hit people, that's that would be fun in itself. But Malaki, yeah, really good prospect. I think he does fit for the Bucs, and it'd be cool to see if they actually do try him out at outside corner, because I do think he has skill sets to play outside corner. Not great athleticism, but it's good enough where in coverage he can do a lot of different things.
Yeah, and he was a playmaker. Like that's the thing. Like he makes plays. He's a ball hawk, whether it's interceptions, forced incompletions, getting in the backfield. Like it's just what he does. Strong run defender. He's not, he's not someone who's going to shy away from putting a hat on a hat and bringing somebody down. And I think it's funny because, and again, supply and demand right here just says it. Tell me the last Super Bowl winner that had a safety caused them to win. No to safety in the first. And I think it's a devalued position, similar to, running back, tight end, inside linebacker. Those four positions are still the lowest paid positions, whether it be franchise tag in the NFL typically, unless you have a special one that's getting really, set in the market. The gap is usually pretty extreme from the first one. I mean, look at Roquan Smith deal for a second was, no one was touching that. I think he's still the highest paid inside linebacker, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's just devalued positions. I will staunchly are you saying Amanawari is better than Malaki? Because I disagree with that statement.
Yeah, South Carolina safety is not the guy you want to take. I'll just tell you that. I mean, just seeing the tape, I would wait on that.
Yeah. But I think Starks, again, you can play him all over the place, and if they do think you can play a little outside, then that gives you coverage across four positions. You have free safety, strong safety, slot, outside corner. That gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of depth at multiple positions. So maybe if you don't, if you didn't take a nickel, because they don't want Antoine Winfield Jr. to play nickel full time. Like that's not something they want full time. So it's the way they attack the secondary, plus to me, it's going to be the biggest thing, because I feel like they definitely need a safety to add to the room. They've got three there, and they really like Kayvon Merriweather, and he played really well down the stretch after he came back from the Lions. And they've got two guys in the practice squad who they like, Rashad Wisdom and Marcus Banks, but they don't have that fourth safety on the roster. So it's going to be interesting to me to see how they fill out, because you're not just going to give the job to Izzian,
No.
So he needs competition. You need some depth and competition at the safety room, and you need some depth and competition at the outside cornerback spot. So if you drafted a Starks in the first round, he could cover two of those spots for you, kind of, and it frees him up to do something later down the line. Or they could take him and still grab a cornerback, whether it's inside or outside. And I think there's a few guys, and you guys are setting me up here. Bud Cannabis, is there a corner you take over Campbell? Plus, I watched your two videos on those two cornerbacks. Any chance that they fall in the hands of the Bucs? And we're going to jump into a bunch of them, because I do think cornerback, it's funny, Jason hasn't taken one since Vernon Hargreaves, and he's had really good success in 2, 3, and with Zion 5. Even 4, the fourth round, I think Mike Edwards was there. Jordan Whitehead was in the fourth round. So he's had success with the secondary at a whole in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, more so than round 1. There's a few guys here, and there's some guys who might be a trade back, you just hope or get lucky that they fall in, and we'll talk about those two first real quick. Is a guy like Jahdae Barron from Texas and a guy, Will Johnson from Michigan. Both of those guys are outliers, and they don't really fit the size profile that the Bucs usually like. Especially Barron. I think he's 5'11". And Will Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's just under 6 feet or just 6 feet.
He's over 6 feet, I believe. I mean, his combine.
6'2". He's 6'2".
Yeah, he's 6'2", but I mean, he's not like huge as far as weight size. But I think his arms,
he's very lean.
His arm length was a little smaller. I think he was 30-inch arm. Yeah, 30-inch arm length.
But both of those guys, can play a little inside, a little outside. Talk to me about. First of all, do you think either one of those guys have a chance to fall into the Bucs? Because that's going to dictate how long I have to spend time on them. But I think both of those guys should be on the Bucs radar, and I think they would be on the Bucs radar. What in the words of Tones, what say you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a possibility. There's always a chance for one of these guys to fall to them, because this draft truly is going to be on the eyes of the beholder. It's a preference draft once you get past the first 4 picks or so. But with Will Johnson, I think he is an ideal zone corner. He can play cover 3 really well, and that's what the Bucs like to do a lot. He's a ball hawk. He has plenty of interceptions over his time in Michigan. He just really sees the field well. I think he's very instinctual in that regard. Very smart, heady player. The thing with him, though, is his tackling. Tackling's not good, so that's the thing that could shy away from the Bucs because they like guys that are physical and know how to hit and just be willing to tackle in the run. The run defense. But from a coverage standpoint, I think he is good enough. The man coverage is a little concerning. You worry about the long speed as far as down the field. Those are things. Yeah. So those are things to be concerned with. Is he only a zone corner, or can he actually man up against NFL wide receivers? He did do good against Marvin Harrison Jr., so I do have to give him credit there. That's a tough matchup. But as far as Jahdae Barron, I think he's probably more. Yeah.
One more thing on Will Johnson before you move over to him. The thing about Will Johnson too, I think you nailed it when you were talking about zone versus man. Yeah. Man is not his strong suit. So the thing that has me questioning is Todd wants to get more back to just 4-man pressure, which will allow them to play more man press coverage if they can actually get to the quarterback. And I think that's where I kind of lose Will Johnson because of how lean he is, because of his tackling.
Plus the injuries, you have to worry about that, coming off turf toe. He has a hamstring this offseason. So, and not wanting to run a 40, that kind of makes you concerned. Like, what is his true speed, athleticism, all that. So yeah, that's all very concerning. But as we shift over to Jahdae, I think Barron is probably a much better fit for what the Bucs want as far as being that safety hybrid like Malaki Starks. I think he could play outside corner if they wanted to. Again, perfect cover 3 corner. knows how to play zone. I think he could play some man coverage. He's athletic enough for it. But I think in the nickel or the safety role, he makes a ton of sense because this guy loves to be physical at the point of attack.
Oh, yeah.
He's very smart, very, just around the ball as well. Always in the right position. So I think he would be someone they could target. It just depends on how they want to play him. I think that's going to be the biggest factor.
Yeah, I mean, the outside, I think he could play outside too. One of the knocks on him is his hip fluidity. Can he flip his hips around quick enough?
It gets a little grabby at times.
He gets some grabby, too. Yeah. But he's and again, he's not a burner. He's not. He's not going to keep up with you. Put Tyreek Hill on him. You better have coverage. You better have coverage over the top because he's not going to be able to keep up with him. But everything else is really good. Other than size, but like just playing is really good. He can work through blocks. He's very comfortable playing in zone, playing in the slot, playing outside. Again, safety. He's got great anticipation and can read the quarterback's eyes. I mean, I think he had 5 interceptions last year. He doesn't miss many tackles, which is good. I think he'd be a great pick. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be there at all. So
no, that makes sense. That does.
I gotta say, I don't feel like in love with anyone because I really think this is probably the last. These guys are the last, and we'll touch on 3 other players that would make more sense in a trade back situation. I don't love any of these guys. Like I have loved some guys in years past for the first round.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just do you feel the same way? Are there guys you're just like any of these guys that we talked about, you're in love with them and would love to see them in the Bucs, or just kind of like, man, I feel like trading down is the best bet. I really do. And I had my second mock, I had them trading with the Bears and giving up both their second round picks to move up. And it was pretty close in the trade chart. They're moving up, so they gave up a little bit more. But like something like that and supply and demand said, I love the scenario. Shedeur falls, Cleveland trades 33 and 67. And they get, 67 would be a first round pick, but a third round pick. But you get that cluster of picks right there, and you have those 3 picks. I just feel so much better about what they could do in the draft if they had multiple second round picks instead of the first. And like I said, because we'll talk about the next guys right now. Siobhan Ravel and Trey Amos. 2 guys. Trey Amos, I think, has a real chance of sneaking into the back of the first round. Yeah. And Siobhan Ravel, he's got visits lined up with the Bucs already. And he's going to be doing a private workout where he's going to be running for some people and doing some of the testing he hasn't been able to do because he tore his ACL. I think it was week 3 for ECU. But I like both of those guys a lot. I don't love them at 19. Right. But talking about those guys are more outside cornerbacks, true outside cornerbacks, where Will Johnson, Starks, and Barron, they're kind of more inside, maybe tweener safety type deals. Talk to me about Amos and Ravel. Do you think they'd be in the mix at 19? Is that too early for them? What stands out about their game when you watch them on tape?
Yeah, I'm right there with you as far as trading down. I think that would be an awesome move for them. As far as Siobhan Ravel, like that guy's a Buccaneer. Like he makes a lot of sense as far as like when you just look at him, size, athleticism, all that checks the boxes. Like, and then not on top of that, his intangibles are off the charts. I don't know if you saw that story that came out on him from ESPN. Really good stuff about him going to that workout for ECU and coming off a shift that he just worked, and then he shows up the next day and gets a scholarship right there. But yeah, he's what the Buccaneers want from that standpoint. But his tape is really good when you turn it on. He's still very raw. Like he doesn't understand the cornerback position yet, but he just has that ability to go out there and make plays because of he's so gifted. He's so gifted. I could see Ravel being a potential pick at 19. I would feel better if they could trade down, obviously. Right. Trey Amos, he's on my list. I haven't got to him yet, like fully. I've seen some stuff of him, and he has the size, he has the makeup. he has all the things you want from a man cover corner. Like, he's really good as far as being pressed, making plays, coming downhill. Those types of things I do like. So it'd be interesting. I would think both of those guys you would like to get some picks back and then, take them.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think
Yeah.
I think with Amos and Ravel, CB2 is their floor. And I think they have a chance to be really good CB1s. And I think either one of them across from Zion, whether it's this year or next year, if they move Jamel or something, I think they'd be great picks for the Bucs. Both of them bring a little bit different style to their play. Again, Amos probably a little bit better in press man than Ravel. Ravel can be a little bit wild with his punch sometimes. And again, he's still learning. And again, 1 year of ACC production as a starter, like there's going to be a big jump going up against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in practice. Like, hold on to your hats because you're going if you get strapped in here. We're learning on the fly, baby.
Right.
But I like Ravel. I think he's probably my favorite corner in the draft for the Bucs early, at least. There's some guys I like later, more like inside guys, like a Quincy Riley. I just love his game. He's so small, but he's like I don't want to I don't mean this in any disrespect if you see this, but like a Chihuahua, like one of these little dogs that just brings
I like Jacob Parrish. That's my guy.
Jacob Parrish is another good one. Noel Williams is another good one. I like the corners, man, in that third, fourth round. Dorian Strong is another one. Yeah. So if they don't go corner one, I don't think, and no one's there. Obviously Benjamin Morrison. There's some guys. Darian Porter. Again, I don't think Harrison's going to be in there because he's just a little too small, I think, for them. Burner has got speed for days, but I don't think. But again, that second to third round, early fourth, I think there's a lot of good corners who can step in and play a role for you. So I don't necessarily think they need to go corner early. And Ezeiruaku's gaining steam as potentially a top 15 pick. Starks is potentially losing steam as a potential, top 20 pick. Although if you talk to a guy like Trevor Sikkema, he's got him rated, I think, as like the 9th best player in the draft, according to him. You look at guys like Jihaad Campbell and Jalon Walker. They're kind of getting pushed up the board. Jahdae Barron and Will Johnson probably aren't going to be there in the first place. And we heard what Jason Light said, and someone set it up here. I'm going to bring it up. Shane, can you put this supply and demand up at 723? Yes, the theme for this draft will be the wave. Talking to my producers in the back. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of waves, Jason Light at the Combine alluded to what has transpired in recent years with teams like the San Francisco 49ers, who've gone to 2 Super Bowls in the last couple of years, and the Philadelphia Eagles have gone to a few Super Bowls in the last couple of years, and adding to that defensive line, that front, to just continue the pass rush wave coming. And the Eagles did it last year with Jalen Carter and Milton Williams on the defensive line, and I'm forgetting the other guy they took, the big guy the year before, Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
And I had someone else on the defensive line as well. I can't think of, but I mean, you're having
Nolan Smith.
Yeah, you're having 3-4 guys deep at that defensive line position. And again, I think this would be more on the situation of a trade back. I mentioned a guy like Walter Nolan, who I don't think they might not be interested in because of character concerns. But one guy who they could be interested in, they actually had a formal interview with him, was Darius Alexander out of Toledo. They went to Toledo last year, and they brought in some guys, I think undrafted guys, to the team. Wait, is Elijah Klein from Toledo?
No, he's University of Texas.
No, he's not Texas.
Texas San Antonio.
No, that's not. No, Elijah Klein's not Texas.
UTEP
or something.
Yeah, UTEP. I think it was.
But there is someone from Toledo, so that they brought on last year. It might be one of the safeties or something. But I think he could make a lot of sense when you look at what he brings to the table. If they do move down again, I don't think this would be a 19. He talked about adding defense because the defensive lineman in this draft is pretty deep. He's right around that number 32 pick on some of these guys' big boards, right? Late first, early third, 6'4", 310 pounds, is strong in run defense, continues to improve as a pass rusher. You look at what he did over the last 2 seasons. Guy had 55 hurries, which is pressures essentially, and 11 sacks at the defensive line position at 6'4", 310. He's pretty good, but he'll be 25.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Darius Alexander, why you're high on him, what you saw on the tape, and could he be a surprise pick here for the Buccaneers in the first round?
Yeah, the 25 gives me pause. It might give the Bucs pause as well, because he's an older prospect. Good defensive lineman. He can, definitely plays with strength. He's got athleticism, size, all those things that they look for. He can, play anywhere from 3 tech to 5 tech. He can do all those things. And obviously they're going to need a defensive tackle probably within the next year or so, because I don't see Logan Hall getting re-signed. Vita Vea is getting older. So that is something that they have to look at. And obviously this is a very strong class for defensive line. But yeah, Alexander, he's interesting. I think he's got a lot of upside to his game. There's still things he's got to work on, get a little bit more consistent. But as far as 19, that's probably too rich for me. If they do trade back, I definitely see him being in that mix potentially.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it gives the Bucs a lot of options. Again, we'll see where these guys fall and everything like that. But someone mentioned Demetrius Knight Jr., Carson Schwarzenegger, someone they had some interest in. We mentioned Xavier Watts at the top of the show. Could that be someone, they could, if they do move back, they could look at it. And, we can see if that's a possible scenario, because we're going to jump in and bang through a quick mock draft real quick. Shane O'Mac, if you don't mind popping it up. We got it right here. The Buccaneers, 7 rounds. We're going to go turbo speed. We're going to enter this draft and see what happens.
Probably Malaki Starks, because he's always available.
He's always available at 19. Yeah, which makes me think maybe he goes a little bit lower. And as always, you can take the chat's feedback, but you are running this mock, sir. So whatever you like to do, I'll show you the options on the board, and the cupboard is bare. And we could look at a trade back if you'd like as well.
Is there any trades? Let's see what
we got 2 trades. We have the Rams. We're not trading back to the 49ers, but the Rams, I've consistently been able to get a 3rd and a 4th from them.
Yeah, let's do the Rams. Yeah, go ahead and trade back.
All right, let's move back to 26. Picked up an extra 3rd and a 4th.
Yeah.
The Rams, as I always say, F them picks, and the Bucs are back on the clock. Okay. Starks is gone. That's who the Rams traded up for.
Yeah, let's go with I like Ravel, so let's go with Siobhan Ravel. I think he makes a lot of sense in a trade back scenario like that. I think I agree. That's perfect. Yeah. He's he's the Buccaneers guy. Like as far as like a prototype for corner, like him and Zaya would just be ridiculous. All right, here
you got some linebackers available. Your favorite linebacker is going to probably maybe available their next pick. Shamar Turner is someone who intrigues me as well. They are bringing him in for a 30 visit again.
Yeah.
They do want to look at that defensive tackle class, and if they don't, I feel like if they don't take one kind of early-ish, the prospects later, there's some good guys, but I just don't think they're year 1 impact guys or can be a heavy part of a rotation. No trade offers, so we got to stick around and pick. What do you think?
That's fine. I'm going to go with my favorite linebacker, and that is Chris Paul Jr. if he's available. I think that's available. Okay. I like him. I think he should be rated much higher than he is, and I just think he's that good. Like when you talk about like linebacker instincts and knowing how to play the position, you talk about Chris Paul Jr. And he would be perfect learning behind Levante David. Yeah,
he is.
Yeah,
I had him drafted in one of my mocks, and I said he pretty much resembles what the Bucs look for. I am that man mentality.
Yeah. So we have 2 thirds here. We could take a receiver. I do like Jalen Royals.
They are bringing in Jalen Knoll for a 30 visit.
Okay.
Vernon Bogdan is another guy I like on the defensive line.
Kevin Winston Jr. oh man, I don't know if he makes it. Yeah, let's just do it. Yeah, make it simple.
I love him.
Yeah, he's so good. And let's see. All right. Let's go offense. I'm thinking. What do you think of Jalen Noel?
I like Jalen Noel. I like him
I
more
like
than
him
Kyle
at.
Williams.
Yeah, I mean, can Kyle Williams play inside? I haven't really watched receivers, so
He's more of a
outside. Yeah,
yeah. They
yeah.
literally after our podcast, Trevor bumped him up, but he doesn't. It's not too much. But yeah,
Yeah.
most of his yards came from deep throws on the
Gotcha.
outside.
Yeah, because he's got some athleticism to him. I do like Noel. Though. I like his ability to play inside for the team. Yeah, let's do Jalen Noel.
Okay, I do like David Walker. I think this is a little rich for him.
Mhm.
I am a big fan of Tate Ratledge, but I just don't get it if you just re-signed Bredesen. I think with bigger needs, you got to look elsewhere in the third round. All right, coming up to back-to-back picks pretty much here in the fourth round. Kyle Williams still there, apparently because they bumped him up.
The rankings are not not computing. Let's see. We already got a safety. Oh, we got to go Jamari Caldwell. That's my boy right there.
Jamari Caldwell, boom.
Yeah, he's my guy.
So far, Bucs shaping up to be in good shape. Javon Ravel, Chris Paul Jr., Kevin Winston Jr., two juniors back to back. Jalen Nolan, Jamari Caldwell. Pretty much their needs are full right now. I mean, edge rusher would be the only other maybe position to look at here.
Yeah, let's see. Is there any edges
see
available?
what we have left
Probably not much left now.
No,
Yeah,
Xavier Jones.
Jai Joyner. I do like the Diggs guy from.
Yeah, I think he's more like
Syracuse. Yeah, may get him late. Okay. Let's see. Probably just go best available here. We already got a receiver. I don't think they'll take two.
I don't think they'll take a running back either.
Yeah, Brashard Smith is interesting, just as far as like a return. We could go corner. I do like Noah Williams. Like we could double up there. I do like that. Ooh,
I like Torrey Horton at wide receiver too.
Ty Felton's another one I like.
Quincy Riley is available.
Okay.
You can play inside. Zay Alexander's they're both more outside guys.
Yeah. We could go Riley.
All right, Quincy Riley. We got our outside corner, we got our inside corner, we got our safety. So secondary is covered. They've got young, talented playmakers that can develop in the system. Looking pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good draft. Good draft so far.
On to the fifth round. It's coming up to our pick. Kyle Williams won't be there. He's obviously best player available.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers. No.
Yeah, Jalen Lane. I don't think they'll take two linebackers. Jackson Hall is a good blocking tight end. Maybe offensive line. I don't know. Is there any good offensive linemen left? Probably not.
O'Keefe is in a contract year.
Right.
I like Connor Colby. He's better in zone though, but
okay.
Emory Jones is a tackle that they could kick into guard.
Okay.
What
about Jake Majors? I've heard like good things off of him, but I know he's rated lower.
Summer coming soon. 6'3", 315.
Maybe go with a guy like that.
Just because he's better a pass blocker than a run blocker.
Yeah, just because he can play center. Like I think that's the biggest thing. Like you could put him at center and then don't have to worry about, moving somebody else.
A little early for him.
It is, but again, a lot of these players are going to get either go later.
There.
Yeah, that's the guy I do like. He's on our film study list, so we could take him.
Jackson Slater. He can play. He can play center too.
Let's do it. That's a Jason Light fit right there.
It is small school. Didn't play tackle though, but still has really good size.
Yep. Good athleticism. I think he had a sub 540, so he's another one that could be Yeah, right in that range. I feel round 5, round 6.
Holy shit, it's a cat. He always photobombs me no matter what. All right, this is supposed to be turbo. Let's go.
Oh, I was like, yep, that is a cat. I just noticed.
Yeah, he likes to join the podcast sometimes. All right. Final pick in the draft. We could double up on defensive line. Ty Robinson, get Jason Light, a Nebraska guy.
That sounds good. I mean, that's probably, yeah, I would say that. I don't think he'll be there in round 7, but that would be a good pick.
All righty. Let's round our. What's up, dude? I'm trying to work here, man. Come on. All right. So that's our draft right there.
Yeah, pretty
Siobhan
good stuff.
Ravel. Oh, we're analyzing. Let's see what they give us.
Let's see. Let's see if I beat John Ledyard.
I love John's reaction. What?
Let's see what we got.
All right.
Oh,
D+
of
for the
course.
Chris Paul pick.
The Chris Paul is going to bring us down.
Solid B. C-. Jackson Slater with an F. Ty Robinson with an A. B.
Okay. All right. It's passing.
It's passing. Same as the other one there.
Yep.
All right, that's gonna do it for us, guys. I appreciate
Solid.
everyone for tuning in. This is a lot of fun. Always with Pless coming in here and giving his information and his knowledge. Appreciate everybody in the chat, everyone liking, subscribing, turning on notifications, everyone who's going to listen to us in podcast format. Appreciate y'all. Plus, go ahead and promote yourself. Where can they find your excellent work? You and your co-host Mark. I don't want to leave him out.
Yeah. We do a great job at Real Bucs Talk. Be sure to check.
Was never on.
Please check us out on YouTube. Just type in Real Bucs Talk. You find all our videos there. We got great content coming up throughout the week, so it should be a lot of fun. Insight to get to as we continue our draft coverage. It's going to be pretty busy over the next several weeks, but really looking forward to our live draft shows. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll probably have this guy on here as well. Yep.
So 20 minutes talking about one prospect.
But JC, thank you, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure having you on as always. Everyone who's watching, I appreciate you guys. Again, like, subscribe, turn notifications. If you watched on X, come on over to YouTube. Even if you're not going to watch it, come like, subscribe, turn on notifications. At least subscribe, tell a friend. I appreciate everybody. Guys, we are busy, jam-packed every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday up until the draft. This Wednesday, we have Ian Cummings coming on from Pro Football Network at 7. So another draft insider to come in and break it down with a more league-wide perspective. That's why we had Pless on for that Bucs perspective. It was just pretty much Sycamore, Ledyard, and Pless. There's your Bucs perspective. We'll get some national perspective, and then right before the draft, we'll get Capo on, who's a guest on here often and another go-to for Bucs draft content. Definitely check him out. But that's going to do it for us. I appreciate everyone for watching, listening. We're going to be here live Wednesday at 7. Catch us then. So for Pless, for myself, thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Pirate Parlay podcast. I'm JC Allen on the Sick Podcast Network. We're out of here. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.